All right, today we're diving into a company you might not know by name, Jabil, but their work is absolutely critical to the tech you use every single day. And this isn't just a company profile. This is a story of a massive make-or-break transformation from a pretty traditional manufacturer into a potential AI powerhouse.
And that really brings us to the big question we're tackling today. How does a company that's been around for 50 years, with deep roots in old-school manufacturing, manage to pivot and become an essential player in building out the future of artificial intelligence? It's a fascinating story, so let's get into it.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll get a feel for the industry they're in. Then, we'll look at the dramatic pivot they just made. After that, we'll check out their new AI-powered growth engine, see how it's completely changed their financials, and finally, we'll hit the bottom line for any potential investor.
First things first, to really get Jabil, you've got to understand the world they live in. It's called the Electronics Manufacturing Services Industry, or EMS for short, and you can just think of it as the backbone of the entire global tech supply chain.
And when I say backbone, I mean it's a massive market. We're talking over $600 billion right now, and it's on a path to break $1 trillion within the decade. These are the folks that actually physically build the electronics for the world's biggest brands.
Now, this slide is absolutely crucial if you're thinking about investing in this space. The old way of doing things, on the left, was just a brutal, high-volume game with paper-thin profit margins. But the new model, where Jabil is headed, is all about providing higher-value services, getting involved in design, in engineering, basically moving up the food chain to where the real money is.
And this whole shift is getting a massive boost from some huge global trends. You've got supply chains moving around, factories getting smarter, and cars going electric. But let's be clear, the single biggest driver by a long shot is the absolutely gigantic global build-out of AI infrastructure.
So in this fast-changing world, Jabil didn't just adapt a little. Nope, they made a really bold, decisive pivot to completely reshape their entire business for this new reality.
The big moment, the one that changed everything, came in late 2023. Jabil sold off its massive mobility business, that's the division that made parts for smartphones, for $2.2 billion. This wasn't just about getting cash, it was a huge statement about their new strategy, clearing the deck for a total reorg and a brand new focus.
And this slide just lays out the before and after perfectly. The old Jabil was stuck depending on the crazy ups and downs of the consumer electronics market. Sometimes they had a single customer making up more than a fifth of their entire business. The new Jabil has smartly traded that volatility for a diversified portfolio that's aimed squarely at high-growth, high-margin areas with AI infrastructure leading the way.
So how does this new strategy actually create growth? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the engine that's powering this new Jabil. Because from an investor's point of view, this is where the story gets really compelling.
So today, the company's broken into 3 pretty clear buckets. You've got the stable stuff like healthcare and cars, which forms a solid base. But look at that big piece of the pie. At 41%, that's intelligent infrastructure. And that segment right there is the heart of the whole new strategy.
And wow, this slide really shows you the horsepower of that new engine. I mean, look at this. While other parts of the business are just kind of stable or even shrinking, intelligent infrastructure grew by a staggering 62% year over year. That's not just growth, that's an explosion, and it's almost entirely driven by AI.
Probably the best way to think about it is like this. Jabil has become a picks and shovels company in the middle of the AI gold rush, right? They're not designing the flashy AI chips. They are building the critical, super complex systems that make AI data centers actually run. We're talking high-wattage power systems, advanced liquid cooling, the really hard stuff.
And the scale here is just immense. Jabil thinks its AI-related revenue is going to jump from around $9 billion in fiscal 2025 to over $11 billion in 2026. That's nearly 25% growth in just 1 year, on an already huge number.
Okay, this all sounds great strategically, right? But for any investor, the real question is, does it actually work financially? Has this whole pivot made Jabil a more profitable and valuable company? Let's see.
So the proof is right here in the numbers. For years, Jabil was operating on these razor-thin operating margins, like 2 to 3%. After this transformation, their core operating margin has leaped to 5.4%, and they're aiming for 5.6%. Now, this isn't a small bump. This is a fundamental structural improvement. It proves the new, higher-value strategy is fundamentally more profitable. And that improved profitability translates directly into cash. Jabil has basically become a cash-generating machine, and it's now consistently producing over $1.3 billion in adjusted free cash flow every single year.
And here's the part that really matters to shareholders. Management has a super clear policy for all that cash. They are committed to returning 80% of it right back to investors, mostly through aggressively buying back their own stock, which makes every share that's left even more valuable.
So let's tie this all together. You've got a new strategy, a new growth engine, and a whole new financial profile. So what's the bottom line for an investor looking at Jabil today?
Well, it boils down to a classic bull versus bear debate. The bull case is simple. The transformation worked. Jabil is now a premier way to play the AI buildout, with better margins and a shareholder-friendly game plan. But the bear case says, not so fast. They argue that the risk of having one huge customer is still there. It's just an AI customer now. Plus, other parts of their business face challenges, and the stock price has already gone way up, meaning a lot of this good news might already be priced in.
And that leaves us with the final and most critical question. There's really no doubt that Jabil has successfully transformed its business. The multi-billion-dollar question for any investor now is whether the market has already fully recognized that transformation in the stock price. And that's the key question to think about.